Straight ahead on 12 News, a scrap metal company eyes a move to Golden Valley. Why it's forcing the city to revisit its decades-old recycling ordinance. Then, paying for a new home entirely with cash?
In the last year, I've seen more cash buyers than probably the previous 5 years combined.
The reason behind this cash buying trend. But first, something that will cost you more cash. Your 4th of July cookout. 12 News starts right now. Hello, and thanks for joining us. 4th of July cookouts will cost you a little more this year.
The price of an average summer cookout is up 5% compared to last year. For 10 people, the cost of the typical barbecue fare averages about $59. As reporter Sonia Goins explains, much of the extra cost comes at the meat counter.
I got a small one back here. That weighs about 8 ounces.
Lots of people are stopping by Von Hansen's Meat in Plymouth to load up for the 4th of July.
Ribeye, our favorite cut of meat.
John Totino was surprised to find his top choice meat had a top price to go with it. The cost of beef is up nearly 14% nationwide.
Seems to be a little bit more expensive, but it's a good cut of meat and we really enjoy it, so we're willing to compromise and pay for the extra cut of the extra cost.
Totino says his family doesn't eat beef that often, so he's willing to splurge.
When we do have it, we want a good cut of meat and willing to pay the price.
Some shoppers are bypassing the beef and going with chicken because it's less expensive.
We're cutting back. We're using a lot more chicken, so less beef, so the beef will be special.
Now, the Ag Department is predicting beef production will drop nearly 6%, hitting a 20-year low, and that could drive up the price of beef next 4th of July, too.
A lot of the smaller farmers are unfortunately getting out of the business, and a lot of the larger farms are taking over, and that has just in general reduced the size of the herd here in America, which has unfortunately increased the price a bit.
Von Hansen's Meat says they're still selling the typical 4th of July favorites.
A lot of hamburgers, hot dogs, and brats on the 4th of July. That's going to be the big sellers.
But some consumers are cutting back on other items to get their food favorites.
We're not going to be doing fireworks.
In Plymouth, Sonia Goins, 12 News.
There is some good news in the grocery aisle. Ketchup is down 12% from last year, and hamburger buns, they cost less than last year as well.
A new report shows the Twin Cities Metro has the lowest unemployment in the country among large urban areas. The Twin Cities unemployment rate is 4%. That's a full percentage point lower since February. However, a broader job index perhaps paints a more telling picture. The so-called U6 employment rate factors in people looking for full-time work but have to settle for a part-time job. It's a common story heard from recent college graduates. That rate for all of Minnesota is above 10%. However, the Twin Cities will soon face a hiring challenge as baby boomers continue to retire. This holiday weekend, we will take a look at this so-called silver tsunami and the impact of retiring baby boomers. Watch our special report starting Friday at 4 p.m. on 12 News.
Robbinsdale police are reminding residents to record the serial number on your bicycle. This after an increase in bike thefts. There's also been an increase in thefts from garages. Police call the vast majority of these thefts crimes of opportunity, and they say it serves as a reminder never to leave your garage door open and unattended.
In Golden Valley, rather than remodel its existing building, a luxury car dealership now plans to build new. The Porsche dealership along Interstate 394 is proposing a new facility on its nearby Audi dealership parking lot. Building a new facility was determined to be more cost-effective. The Golden Valley City Council has approved a preliminary plan for the new facility.
Water rates will be going up slightly in Golden Valley, Crystal, and New Hope. Golden Valley is the latest to approve an increase to pay for that city's share of a $4 million emergency water project. Right now, all 3 cities get water from Minneapolis through the Mississippi River. But if contamination or a pipeline issue were to occur, all 3 cities would be without a water source. A rate increase would pay to drill 3 new wells and restore a 4th. Should a new recycling center move to Golden Valley?
That is a question that the City Council is trying to answer. A Fridley recycling company wants to buy vacant property in Golden Valley. But as Delane Cleveland reports, the city may have bigger ideas in mind.
Near the border of Golden Valley and New Hope sits the former home of Sifco Industries. The building has been vacant since late last year. However, the Fridley-based company's scrap metal processors expressed interest in buying the property. First, though, they want to make sure the building and site suits their needs.
Staff is looking for some direction from the council.
That's where the city of Golden Valley comes in.
In terms of recycling, metal recycling companies, they'd be a pretty good one to have. All their operations are inside the building. They don't have people just coming and drop off.
Another plus is that the area is zoned light industrial, under which recycling centers would fall. Only problem is that the city's zoning code for recycling centers dates back to 1983.
If you look, one of the conditional uses is that someone could put a heliport pad there. That could be quite entertaining, I'm sure, for quite a people who live and work in that area.
And so maybe it's time to look at this ordinance before we, say it's okay.
Yet rather than simply tweaking the ordinance, Mayor Harris raised the question of whether more could be done in the area to encourage economic development.
What do you want this area to look like? Is this ripe for a commercial opportunity, to be rezoned for commercial opportunities for that neighborhood restaurant, or for residential housing?
Some council members, though, questioned the timing of the suggestion.
I'm uncomfortable with people coming in with a legitimate use for a site that's been identified as industrial and then say, oh, no, I don't think we want that.
It's a discussion that will continue in the coming months. But for now, scrap metal processors won't be relocating to Golden Valley just yet.
It's not in your traditional industrial areas of the city. So that's why I was pushing this.
In Golden Valley, Delane Cleveland, 12 News.
The council ended up passing a 6-month moratorium on recycling centers to give city staff more time to study its ordinance. As for what the future holds for the site, Mayor Harris says the city plans to have that conversation, quote, as quickly as possible. Coming up, buying a new home strictly with cash?
It is actually becoming more common, and we'll explain next in Money Savers. Then later in sports, it's transition time for the newly merged Armstrong-Cooper boys hockey team. We catch up with them at summer workouts.
But first, a postcard-worthy Thursday and a 4th of July that will feel pretty nice, too. A recent report shows Twin Cities homes are selling twice as fast as they did 3 years ago.
That quick turnaround means it often only takes a few days to get multiple offers on a property. In today's Money Savers, reporter Shannon Slatton explains why people with cash in hand are often the ones with the winning offer.
On a nice day, you might see Jim Deline wheeling through his new Maple Grove neighborhood. The new resident moved here from Plymouth in October.
With me being using a wheelchair and a walker, that we should get in a home where it's easier for me to get around, rather than the floor level we were at before.
For Jim, moving into a new home made sense physically and financially.
We decided that we should probably have our monthly expenses as minimum as we possibly could, so that we could save money for going away for a few months each winter.
So Jim and his wife saved up and sold their old home in order to pay cash for their new one.
It was a priority for us, actually.
Baby boomers or investors paying cash for new homes is something that RE/MAX broker Jason Walgrave is seeing more often.
In the last year, I've seen more cash buyers than probably the previous 5 years combined.
And he says paying cash has advantages like faster closings and more of a chance of getting the home you want.
When a seller looks at 2 offers, one being financed, one being cash, if the offers are the same, almost every time they'll take the cash offer.
But what if you aren't like Jim and you don't have the cash to pay for a new home? There are still a few ways you can compete.
Things like not asking for closing costs, inspection days being minimal, and being able to close as soon as possible.
It also might not be good for your long-term financial goals to take money out of a retirement fund to come up with cash. Jim says he double-checked his decision with a financial planner in order to be confident paying cash was the right move for him to make.
But I think it was nice for us to have that financial planner come in and look at what we had and say, you guys are doing okay. And if you want to pay cash for your home, you're certainly able to do that.
In Maple Grove, Shannon Slatton, 12 News.
Coming up, a Brooklyn Center worker who is very happy to live the American dream.
But first in sports, 2 local teams score wins in American Legion baseball. John Jacobson has the highlights up next.
good pitching and timely hitting. That's a pretty good formula for baseball anyplace.
You can win a lot of games doing that all summer long. The Totino-Grace High School baseball team won the final North Suburban Conference this spring, while Maple Grove made a deep run in the Section 5 3A tournament. American Legion players from those schools met in a North Hennepin League game Tuesday. Beautiful night for a game at Fridley. Top of the third inning of this one, Maple Grove loads the bases, but Tom Seberg snags the liner, doubles the runner off first base, and that ends the frame. Bottom of the third, Seth Solwold, 2-out base hit for Grace. Scores Brendan Swan and ties it at 1. Bottom of the fifth, Maple Grove leading 2-1, and Seberg crushes a shot to the gap that scores Alex Halverson. An RBI double for Seberg, and it's tied at 2. Grace gets 3 in the inning. Seberg scores on the Maple Grove error for the 4-2 lead. Top of the seventh, Maple Grove gets runners on the corners, but Jack Lux's strikeout ends it. 4-2 Totino-Grace is the final. Also in North Hennepin League play, Brooklyn Park hosted Tri-City Blue. Top of the second, nice diving catch at third here by Brooklyn Park's Dan Hansen, taking away a hit from Nick Steen. Bottom of the third inning with the score tied. Kyle Schnobrook breaks for second with runners at the corners. He draws the throw, and that allows Sean Stokowski to score from third base. Schnobrook is tagged out in the rundown, but the Knights get the run, and they lead it 2-1. Fourth inning, runner at second, and the Tri-City liner caught by Stokowski at second, who steps on the bag for an unassisted double play. Bottom of the fourth, Dan Martinez singles past third base and into left field for a hit. Andrew Gagnon scores to make it 3-1 Brooklyn Park. And lefty Brandon Budnick comes on in relief and gets Tri-City out in the seventh inning. Brooklyn Park wins it over Tri-City of St. Anthony. 3-1 is the final. A new era will start this fall for boys hockey in Robbinsdale District 281. The school board approved a merger between the Armstrong and Cooper programs because of low numbers in the Cooper program. As Jay Wilcox reports, summer is the time to start the transition.
It's an important summer as two high school teams become one. The Armstrong-Cooper guys grew up playing together and say it's been a pretty smooth start to the new program.
Yeah, I think it's been pretty seamless so far. We've played with a lot of kids throughout the youth association, and because that already is Armstrong-Cooper, but I think it's going really well, and I think it's going to be a good year.
I think it's going great. It's really going good right now. I think we're all just coming together. Like, we're in youth hockey. We started out, like my first year youth hockey, we just wore Armstrong jerseys, but it was still Armstrong-Cooper, then we switched over, and it was just the same thing. We were just good buddies throughout the whole time.
Head coach Danny Charleston is leading the summer training program at New Hope Ice Arena. It's a time to build individual skills with an eye toward making a stronger team when the season rolls around.
In the summer, you know, we have a lot more time to work on skill set, a lot more creativity, a lot more mistakes. Let's just say we push them to make mistakes in the summer, kind of push them outside their comfort zones so that in season they're heightening their level, their capability of skill level.
There's no doubt bringing the two programs together will make for more competition for spots on the team and for playing time. That's all part of the equation that everyone will have to deal with.
They're not guaranteed a spot this year. Like in the past, there's been a lot of the teams. We've not had to cut any kids, so we don't have a lot of kids. But now we have a high number of kids that will be trying out this year.
Not the greatest for players because there's less spots, but as a coaching standpoint and building a hockey program, you want to be making cuts every year. You know, you want it to be difficult.
It'll take a little getting used to, but the Armstrong-Cooper boys team is now a reality. These guys are working to make it a stronger unit. Jay Wilcox, 12 Sports.
We caught up with the team at the end of their first portion of summer training last week. This week is a no-contact week for all high school sports coaches and teams. A lot of athletes busy, but that's certainly a transition year for those guys.
All right. Thanks, John.
You're welcome.
Up next, one immigrant's perspective on Independence Day.
But first, can you help Brooklyn Park's mascot find his golden spot? Here is clue number 4. Whether your ancestors came to America centuries ago or you just arrived, immigration stories are something most Americans share.
For one woman working in Brooklyn Center, the 4th of July carries special meaning. Here's 12 News reporter Carissa Wyant.
Independence Day is a time many Americans celebrate with fireworks, parades, and barbecues. But for many new Americans,
I solemnly swear,
like these folks receiving their citizenship in Golden Valley last July, the day has a special meaning.
There are so many questions a new citizen can answer about America that an American cannot, because they have actually gone through learning about all of these, who signed the Declaration, who freed the slaves.
Melissa Nambangi is the founder and executive director of the Minnesota Women's African Association in Brooklyn Center. She celebrates the 4th in a typical way.
It has become also a family tradition. That's when we get together, lots of barbecuing.
She was a television news anchor in her native Cameroon until she came to Minnesota as a Hubert Humphrey Fellow in 1992.
Actually, I did not even know there was a state called Minnesota. And the first thing everybody told me was, ooh, that place is so cold. So I came to Minnesota.
Nambangi says it's not just the spirit of adventure that drives people to America, but also desperation.
If you came as a refugee or you are running away from something, it's really disruptive to your life.
According to recent U.S. Census data, the population of foreign-born folks in Minnesota has grown over 130% in the past 2 decades. Experts expect that number to climb as more people come seeking the American dream. Nambangi says the American dream is alive and well in the African immigrant community.
The American dream for us is that opportunity and making the best use of it.
In Brooklyn Center, Carissa Wyant, 12 News.
The Minnesota African Women's Association provides health education and college prep services to women of African descent. Despite the threat of rain, music in Plymouth went off as planned on Tuesday night.
It featured the Minnesota Orchestra, but included other music acts as well. And as we say goodbye, photojournalist Neil Persley assembled some of the sights and sounds of the evening.